the opinion of us, how many people trust the press anymore. I mean, we're way down there with the lawyers.
Yeah.
This is really rough, as you know.
You're way down there with Congress.
I despair. Seriously, I worry greatly. We're at a point where if the President of the United States is going to say legacy media is dead, well, I guess Musk said that. Legacy media is dead.
And he wants it dead. He wants other media.
But it is kind of, sort of hobbling right now. And I don't know how it recovers. I'm very dark about it.
Well, I mean, you've done a pretty good job in killing it, Leslie. For all of these people who want to blame Elon Musk or blame Donald Trump or blame social media or blame Twitter or blame TikTok or blame what, it's you. You did it. You killed it. This is not a situation where it's just magical. If the media and the press was honest, straightforward, reported the news, and was given some level of context in a way that the American public believed it was being truthful, then legacy media wouldn't be dying. What killed it is because you have multiple opinions that are out there that give far more context to the media and over again, despite the fact that you had one job, get it right. You continuously got it wrong. You would be given a pass if it was getting it wrong by accident. But truth be told, media has a certain perspective and they go in a particular direction. And oftentimes when they get it wrong, they're getting it wrong in one very specific direction. It is not getting it wrong across the board. It is in a specific direction. Media tends to fall in line with government, with power, or particular parties or particular organizations. It's just that. And Leslie Stahl herself has been guilty of that. Meaning, the credibility of media crumbled because media lies. It's just that. And when you're looking at social media, the reason that social media gets so much more attention in regards to the public is because fact of the matter is, if I'm on the ground in Gaza, I can take a picture and say, here's a genocide being committed. And then you go to media and media whitewashes it completely. You can go to Syria, you can say, hey, look at these people being ethnically cleansed. Look at the people holding the black flag of ISIS. And you go to media and CNN, and they're having an interview with a head chopper that they are all of a sudden calling a diversity-friendly, moderate terrorist. It's that. It's what's killing it. It's the same thing with political parties, by the way, right? If the center was doing the job of the American public, people were fed, people had homes, people had health care, people got education. If that was your political space, then the center would hold. The moment that that is no longer true and the American public believes that for all intents and purposes, the politicians are working in the interest of the rich and in the interest of the powerful and corporations, then obviously they're going to start looking for something else to try to deal with the situations that they themselves have, and to try to fix it in a political sense, considering the people who were there in the center, being Democrats or for that matter Republicans, didn't do the job. And again, not doing the job for accidental reasons, but not doing it because the interest is on who is giving them the cash, who's giving them the money. And instead of going to the bat for the American public, they're going to bat for the rich, and they're giving propaganda to the public for political expedience to get from point A to point B. Leslie Stahl, of anybody, is just as guilty for destroying the credibility of media than anyone else. This is Leslie having a conversation with Donald Trump. And listen to what she says here, talking about Trump. And this is in relation to spying on his campaign. Listen to this.
The biggest scandal was when they spied on my campaign. They spied on my campaign.
Well, there's no real evidence of that.
Of course there is.
No.
It's all over the place. Leslie,
Sir,
they spied on my campaign and they got caught.
Can I say something? You know, this is 60 Minutes, And we can't put on things we can't
No, you won't
verify.
put it on because it's bad for Biden.
We can't
Look, let me
put
tell
on
you.
things we can't verify.
Leslie, they spied
And-
on my campaign.
Well, we can't verify
It's been totally
that.
verified.
No.
It's been, just go down and get the papers. They spied on my campaign, they got caught.
No.
And then they went much further than that, and they got caught.
Yes, Leslie, yes. Yes. They spied on his campaign and they got caught. Yes, that is a true statement that Donald Trump said. Leslie Stahl, newswoman who comes in, who's supposed to be the person who gets it right, gets it entirely and completely wrong. Her wrongness is not just there, her wrongness is also here. When Donald Trump brought up the laptop, saying the laptop indicates all of this stuff about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, especially in relation to Ukraine and the business dealings that were taking place. I mean, put aside for the moment the crack and the prostitutes and the potential underage girl. Put aside all that for the moment, especially since Biden gave him a pass for 11 years of criminality. Put all that to the side. The fact that Trump pointed out that the laptop reveals all of this criminality, this influence peddling from Hunter Biden using Joe Biden's name as leverage while Joe Biden was the VP, or for that matter, getting the job at Burisma, where the only trait that he had that made him worthy of that job was that his last name was Biden. It was just that. When Trump points that out, you get Blinken getting 51 intelligence officials to come out and say that's Russian disinformation. They were lying. All of them were lying. Not just lying, they were interfering in the presidential election as they were lying, because Joe Biden used that on the debate stage in order to try to divert from the fact that the criminality was in that laptop. I'm sitting here with my father, and if you don't give me $20 million, and then you get the situation where Joe Biden said, I knew nothing about it. I had no business dealings at all. So while you were VP and your son was working at Burisma in Ukraine as you were viceroy of Ukraine, you knew nothing about it. You didn't talk about it on Christmas dinners. You didn't talk about it at Easter. You had no conversations about it at all. And then you find out that Joe Biden was at dinner meetings with Hunter Biden and his business associates, because you have emails in the laptop saying, thank you for introducing me to your father, the vice president of the United States. Leslie Stahl, when confronted with this, said this.
Of course it can be verified. Excuse me, they found.
Come on.
Classic example of the right-wing media.
She said from the intelligence community that the Russians are engaged.
Of course it can be verified. Excuse me, they found the laptop. Leslie. What can't be verified?
The laptop.
Why do you say that?
Leslie Stahl, once again, the laptop can be verified. For her, nothing can be verified for Leslie Stahl. It can't be verified. It can't be verified. It's coming from the Russians. They said it's coming from the Russians. No, it was verified. It was his. And you know what's wild about the laptop? The FBI knew that it was his going back to 2019. And again, you would think that somebody would just go to Hunter Biden and say, hey, Hunter, is that yours? I mean, there are pictures of you doing crack in the bathtub. There are pictures of, videos of you having sex with prostitutes. But is that yours? We have questions about whether or not the Russians are using it for disinformation. It was his laptop. The feds used it in the case against Hunter Biden. But Leslie Stahl, wrong on both counts, can't verify anything. If you're asking why media has lost such credibility, this radical loss of credibility, it's stuff like that. It's stuff like that. You guys have been lying to the American public. To make this even worse, CNN tops Leslie Stahl on this by putting out a fake propaganda video. CNN has been doing this ever since the jihadists took over the Syrian government because they've been trying to communicate to the American public like, hey, I know this guy was chopping off heads a few years ago, but he's reformed and he's now diversity friendly, despite the fact that he's implementing Sharia law in Syria. The minorities that were protected out the window. And by the way, this is not a rah-rah for Assad. This is pointing out and mourning what the Syrian population is about to go through. This is not normal. This is not this typical civil war. The United States has been in Syria going back all the way to the Bush administration, pushing, cajoling, creating divisions and separations, radicalizing various elements and backing those groups that were radicalized in Syria to do exactly what happened last week. When CNN, trying to sell this, uses Clarissa Ward to sell it. Clarissa Ward is a famed liar. And not just a famed liar, she herself admits that she has crossed the line in some of the other reporting that has been taking place. Do you remember the chemical weapons thing where she's smelling a backpack? Or where she's throwing a body to the ground because she's under attack? She's under attack. Oh my God, the cameraman, she's under attack. There was no attack. And from the standpoint of the chemical weapons thing, nobody in their right mind is going to smell a backpack that they believe is infested with chemical agents that apparently have supposedly been killing people left and right. But Leslie Stahl smells like chemical weapons. Leslie Stahl, in an interview on CBS, admitted this. I'm sorry, Clarissa Ward on CBS admitted this. Yeah, I mean, you know, I will cop to the fact that I think across the line in Syria, I became emotionally involved and I was crushed when the U.S. response and U.S. policy, not that I was advancing for intervention, but I just felt that the U.S. policy, and I know, Michael, you and I have discussed this at times in the past, that I felt that there wasn't really a strong U.S. policy that had said, quote, Assad must go, and then we had done nothing to make him go. And it continues. And I wrote Ben Rhodes an email to his official White House account and said, Dear Ben, I hope you're sleeping soundly as Aleppo burns, as least we have the Russians to sort it out. Best wishes, Clarissa. Meaning the news person who was sent over in order to report the news on Syria was an activist in order to try to overthrow that same government of Syria. She herself acknowledges, yeah, I probably crossed the line. You think? So, of course, if you need to sell jihadists to the American public and the destruction of somewhat of a secular government in Syria, where the other religious communities, minorities, were protected, considering that's out the window, you don't want to show the ethnic cleansing. You don't want to show the people being dragged down the streets. You don't want to show people being shot in the face or in the chest by the jihadists that took over. What you will show is stuff like this. This is Clarissa Ward, admitted propagandists, admitted interventionalists, going into a prison. Let's show this one first. Goes into a prison. I've shown this video before. I just want to give a beginning. Stumbles into a prison that has been open for 5 days, meaning they opened and emptied the prison. She comes in and stumbles and finds an inmate who, for whatever reason, stayed in the prison after everybody else was released from the prison and is laying under a blanket.
The guard makes us turn the camera off while he shoots the lock off the cell door.
Now, just to be clear how stupid that is. They've opened the prison already. They've let everybody out already. But for whatever reason, the guard doesn't have a key. He has to use his gun to shoot the lock. Okay, let's keep going.
We go in to get a closer look. It's still not clear if there is something under the blanket.
And what do you know? she finds someone laying under a blanket that, despite the fact that they shot the lock a few feet away from him, he's still laying under the blanket, completely shocked that somebody is there. So for whatever reason, he decided, I'm just going to stay in this prison. That's all I'm going to do. I'm stay in the prison. After all of this time, days, just stay in the prison under the blanket. And he doesn't move it off of the gunshot. All right, fast forward. When we fast forward, we come to him being brought out of the prison. Clarissa has liberated a prisoner. Clean jacket, overweight, manicured fingernails, and supposedly has been in the dark for days. Despite the fact that the prison that he was in had a window. But okay, fair enough. Let's keep going.
3 months in a windowless cell, we can finally see the sky. God, the light. Oh God, there's light.
Let's try this again. Let's start from the beginning.
After 3 months in a windowless cell, he can finally see the sky. My God, the light, he says. Oh God, there is light. My God, there is light. Stay with me, stay with me. He repeats again and again.
He's gonna get something tonight. He's gonna get something tonight. What I want to point to, aside from the ridiculousness of this, is that even Twitter cannot let this go by for how staged and phony it was. CNN, Twitter put a community note at the bottom of this. This is clearly a stage video. There is no chance a prisoner who is in darkness can look with wide eyes at the sun. Additionally, his jacket is clean and he has a new haircut and a clean nails, which is not possible case in a Syrian prison. Other people who came out of a Syrian prison were emaciated. They were very thin, they were tiny, they were frail. That chubby guy is not just overweight. He's very clean, hair's cut, nails are manicured. Unless Assad and his prisons are giving manicures, haircuts, and giving you outfits, I'm going to call that nonsense. And I'm going to say that the Twitter note on that is correct. God bless the community notes for Twitter. Those things seem to be more accurate than the news. So when Elon Musk comes out and says legacy media is dead, he didn't kill it, you killed it. CNN killed it. The most trusted name in news, as CNN calls itself, despite the fact that it's running propaganda for the State Department, or for that matter, the CIA, in order to sell the jihadists taking over Syria. That is humiliating. She should be humiliated. It's bad enough that you have to admit, yeah, I think I might have crossed the line. You think? Is it really your job to do that? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is their job to do that. Scott Ritter pointed out that these people basically have this stuff planned out months or years in advance, working in coordination with the CIA, or for that matter, the State Department, to sell this to the American public. They're not selling it to Syria. CNN is selling it to the American public to make them feel the terrorists that have taken over and is trying to consolidate power in Syria right now is somehow a good thing. Whatever you want to think about Assad, fair enough. That's almost besides the point. You are selling this nonsense to the American public, knowing full well that you are lying through your teeth and you don't care one iota. I don't know if she believes that this is just the right thing to do. So if she has to lie to the American public, fair enough. If so, you need to get another job. The reason that people are saying legacy media is dead, the reason that they lost credibility to such a radical, overwhelming degree, the reason that Leslie Stahl is sitting there saying, man, we're about as trusted as pond scum, and that is given a bad name to pond scum, is for what you have been doing. The laptop, the Russian disinformation campaign that you claim is coming out was a media disinformation campaign, lying about whether or not Trump was being spied on, the war in Iraq that was sold to the American public, unprovoked war in Ukraine, again, that was a lie. It was sold to the American public. Israel's genocide, the way the media would cut it to make it look not as bad, to make it look like there was a battle going on, as opposed to Israel just decimating the population of the country itself. I'm saying these things were things where media just fundamentally lied to the American public. They still do it today. When Ken Delanian wrote that piece, I believe it was for NBC News or CBS, one or the other, and what he was arguing was that the Biden administration was using disinformation to get into Putin's mind. And that was the savvy new way of using information, even when they knew they were lying to the American public. That was effectively the news triumphing, chest thumping the fact that the White House was lying to the American public for issues of war. And the media cheered. Leslie, you didn't lose credibility because of Elon Musk. You didn't lose it because of Donald Trump. You didn't lose it because of me. You lost it because you kept getting it wrong. You had one job to get it right, to give context and information to the American public in a way where they can use it, understand it, and they can make decisions on that information. And instead of doing that, you worked in line with government, State Department, or particular political parties in order to steer America in a particular direction. It wasn't about getting it right. It was about giving the American public a certain point of view, dropping context to push them in a very specific direction. This is vitally important. I hope you understand that. The reason that the First Amendment is there is the First Amendment because they recognize and realize that governments, especially power structures, lie. They lie as a basis of operation. At some point, what the government wants to do is going to run contrary to what the American public wants to do. And in those moments, the governments lie. They do it for political expedience. Now, sometimes that stuff has to do with issues of war and peace, where the government wants to get involved in some kind of war, and the American public may not want to. And so it has to be ginned up in a way to get the American support to do something that is not in America's best interests. Hence, lying. The people who carry those lies is media. When they say anonymous source said this, anonymous source said that, oftentimes that is somebody in the government giving media some heads up about something one way or the other that most likely is not true, but they're trying to do it for some kind of political reason or something that they want to get accomplished, and media runs with it. And depending upon what it is, runs with it uncritically. If it's something about Ukraine, they run with it uncritically. If it's something about Israel, they run with it uncritically. If it's something about Russia, oh, they're very critical, even if it's true. You've earned your loss of credibility. You've earned it. It's yours. You've earned it. Like, share, and of course, subscribe. Thanks all.